Looking to break into Minnesota's legal cannabis industry? The next licensing round opens February 18th, and you don't have to navigate it alone. Jen Rice and her team can guide you through every step of the process at North Star Cannabis Consulting. Start with their free industry newsletter. Then let them help with license applications and business strategy to empower your success in this growing market. Don't miss your opportunity. Get professional guidance from a team that knows Minnesota's cannabis landscape inside and out. Contact North Star Cannabis Consulting today. Visit northstarcannabisconsulting.com to learn more. Keeping track of your grow doesn't have to be a hassle. Meet PLNTRK. That's PLNTRK, a tool built by Minnesota growers for growers like you. Track every stage of your plant with intuitive progress bars for each phase. Stay on top of your grow with text reminders for watering, feeding, and photos. And when it's time to log data, it couldn't be easier. Just scan a QR code or tap an NFC tag to instantly access your plant's details and updates. You can even log your interactions for one or all your plants in just seconds. Ask detailed questions with the AI chat powered by your plant's data and get the help that you need when you need it. It's free for up to 8 plants. Go to www.plntrk.com now and start tracking your grow. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Northern Lights. I'm your host, Tanner, joined today by Steve and Jordan. How's it going, guys?
What's up, Tanner? Doing well?
Happy to be back in the studio.
Hey, Jordan.
Hey, guys. I feel like vibes are immaculate today.
Oh, yeah.
I feel a good show ahead of us.
I was cold last week, but we have now thawed. It's slightly warmer, ever so slightly, and we're back.
I like the sprinkle of snow.
Mm-hmm.
Consistent sprinkles.
Yeah. Did you guys like the negative 55 in Frostbite Falls, Minnesota?
Ooh.
No, we didn't.
No.
Can you imagine that, like, we both live in the Twin Cities,
Mm-hmm.
but if you go 2 hours north, 3 hours north,
Mm-hmm.
4, like, can you imagine how much worse it gets?
Oh, so much worse.
As you reach International Falls?
Yeah. I would not want to spend a decent amount of time in northern Minnesota when it's negative 50, and glad that we didn't spend a ton of time outside the last couple of days.
I went to Brainerd last night.
Okay.
Up and back.
All right. How was that?
I tell you what, it was more fun. The drive home was more fun than the drive there.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I could see that. Was it really fucking cold there?
I mean, yeah, the worst. Okay, so you go outside, you have a smoke.
Mm-hmm.
One joint gets passed around, and then inevitably a second joint gets passed around.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're ready to wrap, right? You're like, okay, I'm really cold, but I'm enjoying the company of these people. We're 2 joints in. I think I'm ready to go back inside.
Yeah.
And then Mark Hendrickson walks out from Cannabis with a white owl loaded up. And it's like, I'm not going to leave Mark outside by himself.
No, you can't. Can't leave people hanging.
Right. I mean, that's like Cannabis, Garrison Hempfest. Like, you know, Mark's a good guy. We gotta hang out. I haven't seen him in a while. And come to find out, the blunt hit so much better than the joint at less than 17 degrees or whatever it was last night.
There we go.
So, you know, be kind, rewind, slow down, enjoy the company of others.
Yeah.
And then when you get back inside, you're just like, I don't do well outside.
Yeah.
I was saying to my wife this week, I was like, I spend so much less money buying flower in the winter than I do the summer, because in the summer, I'm just ripping through joints because it's like I want to be outside.
Yeah,
but in the winter, I'm there like just sucking down a bowl as quick as I can because I'm like,
Yep. You're just trying to get through it as fast as you can. Enjoy it, but fast.
So, it helps me with moderation, I guess.
Coffee is like that too. Like, I'm not going to the coffee shop as much. I'm just using the mystery bags that I'm buying at the co-op. They got this, like, they don't tell you what the bean is, and it's random varieties, but it's like I bought a bag for $3.19, and you pour that into your coffee machine, the beans, and you're like, that's how much a cup of coffee costs at Caribou, but I'm getting way more cups in my own grinder, you know?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But last thing, and fine, we'll play a game, but I was talking to a
Spoiler
store.
alert.
Whoa, Steve.
People don't know we have an outline. They think this is impromptu, right? We're just flying by the seat of our pants. Sorry, keep going. Keep
Well,
going.
you know, with the cold weather, whether it's coffee or cannabis, make sure you go out and you support your local hemp CBD retail shop, your local dispensary. Like these stores slow down in the wintertime. We may not have flower at all of our locations, but you know, definitely check out the Dabbler Depot, Seed and Sesh, Dabbler Depot THC, and try to get these stores, you know, a little more lively. Come out on Tuesdays, come out on Friday afternoons. Like, do what you can to support the local market.
I love it. Constant, great reminder. Yeah. Well, we got a full episode today. As you mentioned, we're going to be playing a game. We've got some news that we're going to be jumping into from OCM, checking in on the rules, checking in on a new report, checking in on the courts. We're going to be featuring an interview with Dope CFO, Dave Woodbeck, a little bit later. Excited for that conversation. And then, of course, our high note at the end, as we do.
Yes.
But first, Steve, you brought something sort of cool into the studio today.
I did indeed. Can I show you?
Yeah, it's sitting right here, right? But there we go. Steve, what is that?
It's a Minnesota Cannabis College custom Grove bag designed by the team at Grove Bag and the Minnesota Cannabis College.
Wow, look at that.
It's modeled after the 2024 sticker that you put out. You were the first person to put out the new Minnesota State flag on a sticker, but you made it the cannabis version, right?
For sure.
And we played off that. Actually, you were super psyched about this idea with Grove Bags being like a national player in the like storage space, the container space. How would you describe Grove Bags?
So Grove Bag is like one of the OGs when it comes to finding containers that aren't glass that you're able to put cannabis in and have it be preserved. We have a Grove Bag over on the shelf back there that people have been seeing for a while from Mephisto. But when they reached out to us and said, hey, we're looking to come into Minnesota.
Yeah.
Any chance you guys want a bag? It's sort of a no-brainer.
No brainer at all. They're based in Ohio. Lance, our contact, he's the CMO there. You recommended that we reach out to him, see what they would say, and we reached out to them. They had seen what we were doing on the podcast and with the Minnesota Cannabis College, and we said, yeah, we'd love to do something like a collab. And they ran their last run of the year, and they were able to get us on in like a limited run. So we have less than 1,000 bags. We're actually going to have a way of getting them to the people, but this is like the first bag, and it just arrived this week. So shout out to the Cannabis College and everything that you're doing here.
Yeah, man, it's so cool having Grove Bags reach out and want to put something together like this. That sticker that we put out, we're pretty certain is like the first Minnesota flag sticker, like period. Not even just like the cannabis parody, but like Minnesota flag sticker that was made. It was printed the day the flag was adopted, before it was technically official. And we were so excited to be able to bust that out. When they reached out and said, hey, we saw that, we thought, that makes a pretty cool bag. Turning our flag into the first flag-themed grow bag was just such a no-brainer, as you would say. But
this is a cannabis collaboration, a Minnesota cannabis collaboration, really. We're going to be selling these bags through local stores. If you're interested in picking up a pack, we've got units available. We'll also probably have them on the Cannabis College website.
Yeah, so we got a link in the show notes for both of those. So both for the consumers, if you're looking to just pick up one bag, you want to show people that you're repping Minnesota-grown weed, there's no better way than putting it in the Minnesota bag. And yeah, if you're a store, you're wanting to get these in, we'd want you to get these out to the people. In fact, we've got some Minnesota-grown weed right inside there. Some wonderful truffle cake from a good buddy of ours. Makes it on the show a lot, and we like that one.
Truffle cake not included with the purchase of
No,
a bag.
unfortunately not. This is just the bag. We want to make that very clear. This is an empty bag you're getting, but it's filled with potential. That's what it's filled with. You can put in your home grow, some grow from a buddy, or who knows, when the stores open in just a couple months here, you could go and dump it out of the ugly commercial container and put it into this really cool bag.
It's reusable, and it's got Terp Lock technology.
Child safe, which is always nice, a nice little sort of bonus. So shout out Grove Bag for reaching out and putting that together. And like I said, if you want to get this bag, check out that link. We want We want to get you the bag.
It's a great way to support the Cannabis College and the Northern Lights podcast. We're super psyched for 2025, and we've been keeping this under wraps for a while. So just smash that like button.
Yeah, glad it's finally here. We should hike this one up the flagpole. No, don't laugh at that. I'm
Amazing.
Sorry. I'm sorry. All right. Well, so that out of the way, we're gonna permanently leave this always on our table because that is just so cool. I love being able to have that. Yeah. Shout out to Grow Bag again.
We secured the bag.
We secured the bag. Nah, we did. Well, guys, should we play a game?
Is it game time?
Did you guys know this was coming?
Game time!
Oh my gosh. All right. All right. So we've been trying out new games every single week. Some of them absolute knockouts. I think so.
Yeah.
Some of them not so much. So I'm excited to see what you guys think of today. Per usual, you guys have a very short description of the game at most and no actual information about it. Today, our game is called Blazed and Confused. Some people might call this game Would You Rather, but we can't patent that. So this is Blazed and Confused. And you're going to get Would You Rather type questions that are increasingly ridiculous and cannabis and Minnesota themed.
I hope Snoop Dogg shows up.
I just imagine Tanner just some 2 a.m. on a Wednesday night, just feverishly like that's when the inspiration strikes for these things, and then all of a sudden you and I get embarrassed on camera.
I'm gonna say that was very season 1. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go 1 a.m. Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. He's wrapping up like, fuck this. I've given it what I can.
You know what? I appreciate that. So I'll sort of tell you the behind the scenes. We did a game 4 weeks ago, whatever, and I got some good feedback from the people in the studio on it. And I was like, all right, we might do more games. So I went home later that weekend, fat dabs, sat down with a Google Doc and said, all right, what can we do? And came up with a list of a ton of games. I looked back at it later. Some of them were trash, so they'll never make it in the studio. Some of them
That's
were
for the Patreon. That's for the Patreon.
Yeah. Some of them were great. We're gonna spread those out. Some of them were other ones, and I'll be honest. Today we're gonna get an other one. So let's jump in. Woo! So you're gonna be getting a Would You Rather question, and you have to answer which one would you rather, and we'll see if we get increasingly more blazed and confused. I don't know. All right.
Let's start with Jordan. All
right, Jordan.
Why?
Here,
because I'm always blazed and confused?
because we're forcing you there.
Because the squirrel poupon cannot happen 2 weeks in a row.
OG lemur breath is going to live in my brain for a long time. All right, Jordan, would you rather smoke at the side of a wonderful Minnesota lake or go inside where it's nice, cozy, and warm in the winter and do a dab while listening to Prince music? What's your go-to?
I can see the pros and cons of both here. Can I ask for more context?
Yes.
Okay, so this lake.
Mm-hmm.
Did he say the side of a lake?
Side of a lake. Like, is
The lakefront, if you will.
okay, so like my ankles aren't just like in the water.
I mean, if you want them to be, I'm picturing sitting in like an Adirondack chair by the side of like a lake in northern Minnesota.
Deal.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm sitting myself in Nisswa. What
Yeah.
time of year are we talking?
13 miles from Baxter, right?
Yeah.
Just about.
I think I'd put it like end of August, maybe.
Done. Sold. That's the one.
All right, so Jordan's going to be outside enjoying the nice weather.
Yep.
Smoking a joint by the fire.
Yep.
I thought Jordan was going to have to scrape the side of a lake for like some earthy, flavorful dabs.
Oh, no. These aren't really like, which of these suck more? Just, well, I mean,
yeah.
maybe. I don't know. All right.
I was waiting for you to drop the hammer on. And I was like, okay.
No, we're starting nice.
Okay, nice. All right, Steve.
Minnesota.
They
nice.
get increasingly more ridiculous.
I see
so
that.
that's where we're starting.
And that means it goes up.
Or maybe down. I don't know how people look
All
at
right,
this.
great.
All right, Steve, here we go. Would you rather hotbox a sauna in the middle of the summer or have a joint outside when it is negative 30 degrees? Something you just touched on mere moments ago.
Right.
A good question for you.
I have hotboxed a sauna before, and I would do it again.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So exact same time of year that you're sitting by the side of the lake, Steve is next door in like those wooden saunas, hotboxing the fuck out of that.
Just like a little hobbit sitting in a little barrel. Just like
Yeah, just struggling to breathe. Not because of the smoke, because of the
the air's
temperature.
awfully thick in here.
I actually hotboxed a sauna on top of a Los Angeles rooftop, like a skyscraper roof, like a very tall apartment building, not quite a skyscraper, pretty tall though, like 30 floors. And it was dope. It was dope. So
where would you rate on the 0 to 10 token system?
there was a lot of tokens there. I would say, based off the recent episodes of Tanner's Terp Tastings, which you can find on Friday afternoons, I'm going to say it was 7.5.
All right, there we go. 7.5. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it was
good.
hot. You know, it wasn't like ideal to smoke pot in a sauna, you know. But it was fun. It was kind of fun.
But it's a wet heat.
All right, Jordan, next one is for you.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Would you rather only get high while listening to elevator music? So you can smoke weed, but unless you're listening to elevator music, it's just you're not going to get high. Or you only get high while actively posing like Chris Lindahl. So you got to decide, are you posing the guaranteed offer the entire time when you're getting guaranteed stoned? Or are you, in fact, just listening to elevator music, just buzzing along?
I sure hope, Tanner, you never get into like corrections because you have a torturous mind.
Correction.
I'm gonna take the elevator music. I feel like there's a little more freedom and flexibility to like make that my own.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
And you can just kind of
Would it be covers of like cannabis themed music? Like it would be like a Snoop Dogg song or something, like, but the elevator music version?
Yeah, just like, and then I got high, but in like nice sweet clarinet.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I'm taking elevator music.
All right, elevator music it is.
But the thing is the elevator music, that type of torture is probably the type of torture to like make me do something very drastic very quickly.
So elevator music, and then he becomes a murderer.
Yep.
All right.
Something.
Well, heard it here first.
Better than Chris Lindahl.
Better than Chris Lindahl. Do you think he has to stand like that for like people see him and they're like, "Oh, you're that guy," and he's like,
There's like
I don't know.
Minnesota Twins co-branded like ads at the Twins game where it's literally like the full screen is just like.
"Oh yeah, it stretches all the way along." Same with the XL.
Oh yeah.
All right, Steve. Would you rather have a cannabis strain named after you, but it's universally hated, or you created like an iconic strain, but nobody ever knows that it was you?
Yeah, I feel like as I mature in production and entrepreneurship, I think it's cooler and cooler to keep things under wraps.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So that's the mature answer.
So you'd make some baller strain that people are like, "Oh, that's great," but then maybe don't know that it's a Steve cut per se.
Yeah,
That's
like watch the last episode. We got some strains on there.
Absolutely. All right, Jordan.
I'm ready.
Would you rather forget your lighter every single time that you go to smoke weed?
Done.
Or would you rather get the munchies, but only have THC gummies at home? So like you're hungry, but everything around you is just going to get you more stoned.
Higher and higher.
Can you take me high? Yeah, I'm taking this the munchies with the gummies.
All right,
yeah. I'm just gonna feed the beast.
What if they were the Lion Series gummies from last weekend? Would you enjoy those?
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Just give me a full sheet of them. Yeah.
That would suck, but be funny at the same time.
Just as long as somebody's got their phone out, like just recording. We gotta get some content out of this thing.
Could you handle that?
Well, so this is based on a real life situation where I had the munchies and I didn't really have much to eat except a decent amount of half-eaten gummy bags. And spoiler alert, I now have a lot of less half-filled gummy bags.
More gummies, please.
More gummies, please. By the way, if you want your product sponsored on the show, give us a call. All right. Next, Steve. Here we go. Would you rather get the munchies at the state fair, but you can only get access to Jell-O salad with marshmallows in it? Or would you rather get the munchies at the state fair, but only have access to lutefisk on a stick?
Oh, no, fuck you, Tanner.
I'm so glad you have this.
So are you getting the Jell-O ambrosia delicious salad or lutefisk on a stick?
I hear you. Respectfully,
I don't acknowledge this question.
Yeah. Moving on.
The Jello, due to the weather, the warmth of August, September.
All right, yeah.
No air conditioning per
You
se.
could shoot it back.
Yeah, I'd shoot it back. Okay, how about this? I'm going to get unlimited Jellos, and then I'm going to barter with folks that I see
Okay,
around
all right, there we go.
the state fairgrounds
I like that.
in hopes of a hot dog or a fried ice cream sandwich or something that is more of my munchy style.
All right, I'll take it. All right, we only have a couple more here, and then we are going to be wrapping up this game. All right, Jordan, next one is for you. Would you rather take a dab while standing on top of the Paul Bunyan statue? You know the one.
I know the one. Bemidji?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I know there's
Other
multiple.
Others
You sort of get
claim. Yeah, others claim Paul Bunyan as the
ones
the
out
one
of Minnesota
true.
make
Paul
me
Bunyan.
upset. But all right, so you're doing a dab there, or would you rather do a dab, but you're in the giant Ferris wheel at the state fair?
Of course, the Ferris wheel.
All right.
Tanner, that was the easiest. That was the
No,
softball.
you've had
one.
some good ones. I'm glad you started. The
I know. I'm so sorry.
You're burying this cross.
I
for
didn't
me.
create this list as if we were going to be bouncing off every other, so I apologize that it does appear every other is.
What year did the Puffco make its debut at the giant Ferris wheel in Minnesota?
Oh, yeah. So probably the first year that someone would be hitting their Puffco at the state fair would probably be like 2021.
Okay.
They existed before then. Puffco had a pen that existed long before then. Whether they were being brought into the state fair actively, I think maybe less. I can tell you guaranteed at least in 2024.
Sometime between 2021 and 2024.
Yeah, I could be certain by last year there was a Puffco. And I will tell you, if you're on the air ride, I'm forgetting
Yes.
the Sky
Glider.
and you look across at the person next to you, and they're also hitting a vape pen, and you just sort of nod at each other. That is cool. Shout out Minnesotans that are.
If you do
Cool.
that, like and subscribe to this episode and tell your friends because we need more of you.
Yeah, and state fair officials do not want me dabbing on the top of the air glide, then set up a cannabis corner, and I fucking won't. All right, moving on from
And
that
go
one.
back to season 1 with Tanner and John Barty as they break down better state fairground rules.
Yeah, I forgot. John Barty was appointed director of the Minnesota State Fair. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
That was the bit, yeah.
For one day.
Yep, yeah. All right, Steve, here you go. Would you rather get uncomfortably high and have to order a Juicy Lucy at a packed Matt's bar?
Ooh.
Or do you want to have to explain THC and minor cannabinoid dosing to a very skeptical relative?
Tanner, these are amazing.
Give me CBC, CBJ.
Okay. Don't forget THC OPW. That's the new one.
Is that a real thing?
No, unfortunately not.
I remember leaving a really cool party. It was Balanced release party for their mushroom elixir or their brain booster beverage, and then the other one, and they did it at a Dope warehouse in the North Loop, and Josh from Legacy was there, and Isai, and I was walking down we were getting out of the elevator, and there was a person who had clearly had a good time at the party, was leaving, and was trying to ask us, what's the deal with this Delta 6? And it's like, look, I know you're sort of just trying to prove a point that people are ignorant, but you just had a really good time at a party. And if you would have tried a little bit harder, you would have known that there is no such thing as Delta 6 or Delta 7, whatever they were
just
alluding
wait till
to.
my cross comes out later this year. It's really high. THCP and Delta 6.
But it's like, I would rather do that because I could take my time with my family and be patient. Versus Matt's bar is going to be a tight spot and it's going to be loud and
Cash only.
And it's
Ooh, all right.
Good point.
That's a stressor in and of itself.
Give me CBG for Aunt Mary for 200.
There we go. All right. Well, and then our last question for today, wrapping up our Blazed and Confused segment, the meh segment. Will it come back? Only you guys get to decide.
Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. Should it? Question, the final one, number 9. Would you rather get the perfect high every time, but be stuck in an eternal Minnesota goodbye? Or would you rather get high but never like just high enough? Always like close but never right where you want to be, but never have to do the Minnesota goodbye ever again. You get to do the Irish goodbye, the see ya folks, and then leave.
See, I'm taking the second option because I've already got the Irish goodbye down. You guys know me well enough to know that I'll just evaporate. Mm-hmm. I'll just be like, oh yeah, George.
Where did he go?
Like, yep. And I will already be showering at that point. Like, I'm already home, getting ready for bed.
But you're not high.
Mm-hmm.
Who says?
Well, you're not.
I'm not perfectly that. And
is that going to bother you?
I love not talking to people more than I love being perfectly high.
Wait, but that's what this show is. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Steve.
Twice it's over there.
Yeah, yeah. That's why we just got the new camera. All right, Steve. Which one would you prefer to have? You got the Minnesota goodbye, but you're pretty stoned, or the see ya folks?
The perfectly stoned with the Minnesota goodbye kind of reminds me of the gummy dilemma that you had, where you
can eat, but you're only gonna get more high,
and so you'll just keep getting higher and higher because it would be funnier and funnier because you wouldn't be leaving, but you'd stay super high.
Yeah,
I think it would be a riot. It'd be fun. I'll go with that one.
Yeah.
All right, you.
Some days it feels like the first one for me. Like we're still saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's like Earl Giles to a T.
It's like, wow, we were outside, and now somehow we're back inside.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, shout out Jen, speaking of Earl Giles. I hate having to do the, like, I really have to go now. And can I chat you for a minute? No, I'm so sorry. This can't be the Minnesota goodbye. I'm already an hour late. I have to go. Yeah. Love you, Jen. Let's chat. But yeah. Thank you guys for playing. Blazed and confused.
Thanks for bringing the pain, dude.
The game.
that was hard.
I love that game.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, rules, court cases, and a report from OCM. We'll be right back.
Did you know that 70% of businesses fail in the first 10 years? And the number one reason they fail is because they run out of cash. Hi, I'm Dave Woodbeck. I'm the managing partner of Dope CFO. At Dope CFO, we help cannabis business owners beat the odds by providing financial leadership. Yes, we handle bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes, just like any accountant. But as one CEO recently told me, the last thing I need is another accountant. I need a partner who can help me achieve financial success. So take the first step towards financial success. Scan the QR code now and start your free assessment.
Attention Northern Lights listeners. Whether you're growing cannabis indoors or outdoors, organically or hydroponically, EcoGarden Supply has the tools to help you succeed. From premium organic nutrients to advanced hydro systems, they've got everything you need to cultivate like a pro at home. Head to EcoGardenSupply.com now or visit them in person at 800 Transfer Road, Suite 3, St. Paul, Minnesota 55114, and elevate your cannabis growing game. EcoGarden Supply. Growing supplies for the serious grower. Boom, boom, boom. And we're back.
Time for the news.
We're going to use that. That's the intro. And we're back. All right, guys. So as we previewed right before we went on break, we've got some news to cover. We've got some rules, we've got a report, and we've got some court decisions. We're going to start with a new report. It's not super massive, but OCM every year puts out their annual report to the legislature. It's a new year, so new report. This is a report that last year we learned a lot about what kind of actions had been taken in terms of inspection of the hemp industry. They talked about the medical industry and the very small businesses that existed. And they talked about the non-existent legal industry.
Right.
There were tons of changes in this report. They talked about the very thriving legal. No, wait. Still no legal.
Thriving nonetheless.
Yeah, no. They've mostly focused on that hemp side of the market and, as you mentioned, that legacy side of the market. So let's talk a little bit about the hemp side. What were some of the big takeaways that we saw in 2024? Well, the biggest one is that there were a lot of inspections. They've been hiring a lot of new people. This is no longer 2023 of, there's inspection here or there.
No longer they are wondering.
Yeah. 2,388 inspections across 2,388 inspections. And of those, 134 retailers were be found selling illegal cannabis flower. Not even just hemp products, but flower.
At least 2 of those were Zaza Cannabis.
At least 2 of them. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about some of the fines that were issued later, which I'm pretty certain we know who at least one of them was. But, yeah, we can see here that, there are people that are openly selling not just high-dose edibles, but flower, something that if you were doing out of your store 10 years ago would have been pretty big news, would have, at least made the local paper.
Right.
Now it barely even, gets mentioned in the OCM aside from, there were, about 135 stores that were selling adult use flower products that are illegal to sell in Minnesota, but NBD, bro.
I've got one right here. So
yeah,
in the first quarter of 2024, just 35% of all inspected businesses were found to be compliant.
Yeah.
What is the inverse of 35%?
The inverse of that is that we had 65% of businesses non-compliant. So you're, an inspector for OCM. You're like, all right, I got 10 on my list today.
Yeah.
Odds are like 7 of those non-compliant.
2 out of 3 cannabis businesses don't command the respect of the OCM.
No. But things changed. 2024 is the year of shifting. We saw by that third quarter, 70% of businesses were compliant.
Oh,
and
hell yeah.
by the last 2 weeks of 2024, which take it for what it is, we rarely break law the last 2 weeks of December, but
right.
87% of businesses were compliant that OCM went and checked out.
Oh,
so
that's great.
That's pretty high,
Yeah, and this is hemp-derived or hemp CBD shops?
Yeah, so it's anyone that's registered with the OCM. So this is, not your pop-up events that are happening, out in the middle of nowhere, but this is your stores, they're set up. You're coming to the seed and sesh, you're looking through the inventory. OCM is saying that is compliant.
Right. Okay, makes sense. The retail side of this industry.
Exactly. The people that really sort of had their skin in the game in terms of facing regulatory action that was different than 5 years ago. Because if you were, trapping 5 years ago and you're trapping now, it's sort of not a ton of change.
Same
but
trap.
If you've got a store, you've got a sign, you're paying taxes, you've got a tax ID, like you probably want to maybe be a little bit more compliant. And we're seeing
shout out to those people that are, from the 35 to the 87.
Yeah. So last year, Jordan, you don't have the report in front of you, so you don't know this number. If you had to guess, how many pounds of illegal cannabis was seized by the OCM all of last year?
241 pounds.
Wow. Wow, that's really close.
Wait, really?
200 pounds. Yeah, that's
okay.
It was like 199.7. A lot of mass.
With a retail of right around 3,000 a pound.
Or as we call it, yeah, exactly. Or as we call it, a weekend, right? No. No, that's a lot of weed. 77 pounds of which was seized just in June alone, which it was a pretty cool summer. So
I didn't see you in June.
No, I was too busy inspecting OCM. No. Yeah, it's interesting to see the amount of product that was seized last year, and that's a decent amount of retail value. Definitely more than has been sold by open adult use shops.
But what about these high-risk hemp-derived cannabinoid products, Tanner?
God forbid we have hemp products that are more than double legal the limit. God forbid there are 10 milligrams in an edible. Or those that appeal towards children. Oh, no. I saw a beer the other day that had a unicorn on it. Did you get? No, it doesn't appear towards children, though. And they had 31,095 products that were seized at a value of more than $800,000 last year. That weren't just like put it to the side and said, hey, like you guys shouldn't sell that, or like, we don't really want this. Those were destroyed. Those are the products that OCM got rid of and are just gone now.
Those are the products that I wonder about.
Yeah.
Because you don't really know what they look like. You often refer to them, beeswax, but also like there's also a lot of other products like nationally that come into the state.
Absolutely. Well, and it's so easy where there are people just across the border that will sell you however many gummies you want because it's no skin off their back. And they'll sell you 100 milligram gummies if that's something you want to have in your store, knowing that the risk to them is 0.
So is that purely based off the percentage 0.3
Yeah.
times the weight of the product?
Yep.
And 100 milligrams is such a small amount that on within a gummy.
Yeah, if 100 milligrams is 0.3%, you do the math and work that out. It's like a 3-gram gummy?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Like that's a nominal, 0.3%. So it would be, someone else comment on the math, but you can have a standard gummy.
Meme machine.
Yeah, that's pretty high in THC without people worrying about that.
Now, I don't know about 100 milligrams, but I know comfortably they're putting 25 milligrams in all of their products when it comes to high dose THC hemp derived.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, here's something that we can give to have a specific reference. Have you ever had the Retro Bakery wheels before?
The wheels, yeah.
Those are 0.3% THC exactly.
Bingo.
So that is what 0.3% THC would look like. It's a circular wheel with about 50 milligrams in it. That's the gummy to THC ratio that you could
in Minnesota.
25, excuse me.
In Minnesota, that's 10 gummies.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
it tears apart. Yeah, but you can have a pretty decent amount of THC in a gummy before it becomes non-federally compliant. It's the Minnesota rules that lock that down a bit more.
And it's annoying for these manufacturers that are trying to game the system, essentially, to appease customers.
Totally.
It's a very Minnesota way of doing things versus Wisconsin, which, albeit doesn't have adult use recreational cannabis, but they do have a little bit more hands-off approach to their government.
Easier to buy THC-rich flower in Wisconsin than it is in Minnesota.
Absolutely.
THCA, but THC.
And so on the inverse of that, we have great home growers.
Yeah.
That really can lean into it.
Exactly. All right, so the final thing that we took away from this report, there was a lot in the products that were seized, there were a lot in the products that were destroyed, but how many people actually got fined? OCM said this was the year of education. They didn't want to go into stores and say, hey, you broke the law, so now give us a bunch of money. They wanted to go in and say, hey, you're breaking the law, please don't. And there were only 4 businesses out of the 134 that were found to be selling non-compliant products that actually went far enough to get a fine from OCM. We don't, of course, know the exact names. We can very much assume that Sada, probably at least one of them. But
what's 3 over 134? That's like 0.3%. It's like 0.3.
That's
it's like the
strange coincidence.
It's about the same. And so, I mean, good year to learn the ropes.
For sure.
I'd say, if you're a retailer, only 4 folks are really, really disappointed in how things went.
Yeah. Everyone else, even if you were caught breaking the law, it appears as though it's not going to be holding you up in that adult use licensure process. At least not aside from those 4.
Which was a motivating fear for compliant businesses.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people have said to me, I don't want to sell weed out of my store because I want to get a dispensary license. I'll sell it to you personally, but not here.
Okay.
Not here. Well, so that's the biggest takeaway that we had. OCM also released an updated report looking at the consumers in Minnesota, but there's no new numbers in it. They updated to make some minor changes, some clerical things, but in terms of learning new information, nothing. So this is the only new report that we have starting out the year. We might get more throughout the year as it goes along, but this is what we know about 2024.
Overall, I like this report. I would like to know the percentage of cannabis users in Minnesota. I was talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
The Star Tribune ran something a year ago.
Yep.
Was it like 10 or 15%?
15%.
15%
in the last 30 days, yeah.
Okay.
So, but I agree with you. This is my favorite game to play with people. Is I go up to them and say, what percentage of Minnesotans do you think have consumed cannabis in the last 30 days in either edible or smoking form? And they go 35%. And I go, you, like me, live in a bubble because no, it's half that. And I'm sure if you went to certain parts of northern Minnesota or rural Minnesota or other parts that are just less cannabis friendly, they'd say, I don't know, 5%. Because it's just that swapping of worlds. And I think I would have assumed 50%.
Or they think 0%.
Yeah.
Even though they're lying to themselves.
We got to make it 100% of people. That's what we're pushing for in 2025. Turning on the state of Minnesota. Right, Jordan?
Northern Light Pod 2025 mission.
Yep.
100% of Minnesotans smoking.
Yeah, the number of Minnesotans that are currently residing in Minnesota, that should be our subscriber count. Yep. All right, well, so let's move on from that. Reports, gotta love that, but box is checked. Next on to rulemaking. Now, we talked a lot about the rules during last week's episode. If people haven't heard that, they should go check it out. Toph came in the studio and really broke down why some of the rules they're implementing, specifically that 70% cap, are just going to be bad for consumers, businesses, the whole gamut. We're now deeper into that rulemaking process. There's only about 2 weeks left until that window closes. And what's fun is it's public comments, so we get to see what people are saying. There is some names in the industry that we know and love. There is some names in the industry that we know that we can see on the forum. Okay. And this is a little preview of what those comments have been like thus far.
We're looking at the rules, hemp versus cannabis, the loosening of the packaging restrictions, and then the big one, or the little one, right? Depending on how you see 70%, but the THC potency caps.
Exactly. And the biggest one that we've seen, thankfully, if you ask me, is about removing that 70% cap. That's what Toph was here to talk about. That's what we've been talking about as we've been out and about with people.
Yeah.
And that's what we've seen the largest number of comments revolving around. All talking about how this is bad for businesses, bad for people who want to get medical cannabis, bad for people who want pure cannabis, whatever your angle. Not a good rule.
No, I mean, we were just talking about how it's harder to create products here compared to federally legalized hemp states. Yeah. It's also a huge negative if we take products away from the market.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to be able to have Tanner's Chirp Tasting be a segment that continues. And if that has to stop, that'd be lame. Right, Jordan? There we go.
There wouldn't be a place to buy any
without the dispensaries. How would we ever come across high quality cannabis concentrates? Shoot, if only.
You'd have to concentrate really hard.
We'd have to concentrate real hard. Yeah, we saw more than half of the comments that people have submitted thus far are saying that these cap should be removed. We've also seen a couple of comments saying that this cap should stay in place, talking about how it's dangerous for kids. We need better packaging. And what I really have been enjoying seeing is people from the community that go and comment underneath those exact same comments saying, I hear you. I understand that you're concerned about kids getting access to this. And that's something we care about as well. Here are 3 things that are in the rules right now that help prevent that from happening. Because I think there are people that are legitimately concerned because I'm not saying they don't know enough, but they just don't really know how a legal cannabis industry works. They hear that this scary thing is coming to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And they just want to prevent their kids from getting access to it or whatever.
Right.
I think by using this as an opportunity to not just provide our comment to the OCM, but also to provide our comments to others that are clearly engaged enough that they're going on to a website, signing up for an account, leaving comments saying, hey, I read the rules and this is how I feel about them. Mm-hmm. Like, they're clearly think that this is important. We can at least have that dialogue publicly, because I think at the end of the day,
it's a great forum opportunity. It reminds me of the testifying period that existed for different committees, and we saw certain voices consistently show up around, and they often had similar narratives. They had family experiences that caused them to feel a way about the issue. But we still have more time, and folks can submit comments through the OAH website until 4:30 on Wednesday, February 12th.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really, we encourage people to go and do that. We talk oftentimes about keyboard warriors in like a negative way of like, you should actually get out and do stuff instead of just sit at home and type on your computer. But hey, this is an opportunity where you can sit at home and type on your computer and actually perhaps have it make an impact. So it really takes 5 minutes. Make an account, open your email, click that verify button, go on and type your comment. That is it. It's easy peasy. So leave your comment, please.
Yes. And we'll try our best to make it easy for folks to keep reminding you, and we'll keep telling you until February 12th.
Yeah. And if you're one of the 3 people that thinks that we should loosen package restrictions, or one of the 3 people that thinks that the rules are putting hemp and cannabis against each other and they're going to like duel it out and it's not going to work out well, shout out to you. We appreciate you leaving your public comments as well. Yeah, we're going to put a link to that place where you can go and leave that comment. This is now the 3rd week in a row that we've put that in the show notes. If you have not done that yet, now is your time to do it. We will eventually get to a point where we say the window is closed. Thank you guys for leaving your comments. And you're going to go, oh, shoot, I was going to do that next week. And no, this week. Go do it now. Go do it now. All right. Well, one more news story. Now that we've done the call to action and the PSA and all that stuff.
Excellent.
Yep. This is a little wrap up on the courts. Now, this is a news story we were talking about a ton just a couple weeks ago, looking at the lawsuit that was holding up or potentially holding up that social equity pre-approval lottery. And then OCM changed their mind on it. They canceled the pre-approval. They moved forward, and people sort of forgot about the court case, if you will. But they've still been working their way through, churning along. Now, one of the cases has withdrawn. They said it's moot. We no longer, we're good. We don't need to fight this out.
But it was a weird jungle gym that the OCM worked their way through. But once they got to the other side.
And here we are.
Yeah.
But there was also a group of people who were pre-approved, moved forward and said, hey, that lottery should have happened. And they sued to have the courts say, hey, you guys got to move forward. And this week we saw that action continue to move forward. So this was filed on behalf of the 648 applicants who did qualify.
Okay.
Obviously, not all of them are parties to this case.
Okay.
But it's seeking that they be allowed to move forward with that pre-approval process, saying that the district court, when they stopped the pre-approval, was out of pocket, as the kids say. But they didn't have the authority to actually do that. And this is the court sort of agreeing, yeah, we do need to keep moving forward with this. But what that will actually mean, we have no idea.
This is the sequel. This is part 2.
Yeah.
This is interesting because this could help those SEA pre-approved applicants get their licenses more quickly.
Yeah, perhaps it could. So we're going to have the oral arguments from this sometime between March and April. We don't know exactly when that will be scheduled for. So it's not like this is going to be impacting people today or next month.
March, April, huh?
Is there something else happening in
Is that one of those
March, April that could be?
Is that one of those new months like May, June?
Yeah. I'm very curious to see how all of these events click together over the next couple of months as our industry seeks to roll out. There are so many stumbling blocks that I just foresee potentially being a problem, but who knows? OCM might, like you said, just crawl through that jungle gym and somehow get to the other side, and we'll have stores open and products being sold. But
yeah,
who knows?
So we're in the end of January. We're having a good January. We're more than halfway through. Mm-hmm. February will be exciting.
Yep. We've got applications opening up for people that are seeking to really move forward in that application process.
February 18th, I believe, to March 14th.
Yep.
And then once things really start clicking in February, then March, April, May, June, it will just ratchet up in events.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I remember taking a vacation and being on the phone with you and saying, yeah, I had to get out of town right before everything got crazy. And it's crazy to think that that was August of 2023. And here we are, January 2025, saying, oh, this next month, though, it's going to get crazy. Just you wait. And you want to know what? It has been a crazy year, however long. I saw a meme.
We're episode 17 into 32.
I know. I saw a meme the other day that was like, crazy year it's been. It's like, Captain, it's only January.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
I don't know. It's been fun. I mean, you think about all the cool opportunities that we have and just the access to products that we have. We're going to be trying some gummies from Unwind here in a little bit.
Yeah, to give those a try.
But it's just like, we do have a pretty colorful jungle gym in the Minnesota cannabis space, whether some of it's above ground and some of it's underground. Yeah. It's very colorful. 4,000 places you can buy cannabis legally or hemp derived,
Oh, yeah, and a lot more that can't buy it legally yet. But yeah.
5,000 lakes.
5,000 lakes. That's for sure. Wow. Well, so a busy week. Not a ton of the action-packed news that we saw the first couple of weeks of January, where I feel like we were struggling to fit it all onto our pages. But it's cool to see our industry just ever creep forward towards being a thing.
That's right.
Real.
That's right. Because I got tripped up there when we were looking ahead to March and April. But it's day by day.
Yeah. It's just Feels like it these days. I mean, we keep joking about like when will we see stores open? Like, I think July 4th is the date we set in the stand. Is it before or after?
Right.
I'm hoping that things continue to move forward. You mentioned that application window starts soon for OCM. I will mention that it's January 24th. We've not seen the application yet.
Okay.
So hopefully that comes
Do you know anyone looking for it?
soon. A couple people.
So it's January 24th. We keep talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to move my July 4th date
Okay.
that we've discussed in the past that we've said. I said by 7/10.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan chimed in.
I think I said way after.
And that's where I'm going with this. I'm going to go before my daughter's birthday or after. So I'm going
Okay. I like that.
middle. I'm going October. I'm thinking like October now on the early side. So before October or after. And I'm going to say same day as Gwen's birthday. So October 17th.
All right. Well, OCM, if you're looking to set a date, October 17th.
That's the
Good
new
date.
that's the new bar for me.
It's a new bar. That bar is down here. For those in the audio version, I'm touching the floor right now. For those in the video version, I'm also touching the floor. I can't reach it on the words. But yeah. That's I don't think we're gonna be seeing action anytime soon from
Just
OCM.
because we still have to grow the plants.
Oh yeah. But that will be the interesting question, and that was something someone asked me at Earl Childs, is the rules say, you can bring the plants in up until a certain date. It doesn't say those plants can't be flowering.
Oh, yeah. And so that's where you need a guy like Tanner on your team to help. Tanner's been on the Jungle Gym,
But please don't go and flower a whole greenhouse of plants. Don't. That would be a pain in the ass.
and you'd be like the mayor of Winnebago,
Which means you'd get away with it.
just like all the other people last year.
Well, we're going to take a quick break here. When we get back, we got Dave Woodbeck of Dope CFO. We're going to chat a little bit more about the financial side of cannabis, and it's a good conversation, if I say so myself.
Shout out to Dope CFO.
Shout out Dope CFO. And then when we get back, we're going to try some edibles. We got a high note. We're going to end out the week strong. We'll be right back. Are you ready to kick off your home grow? We've got the perfect hookup for you. MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. They've got everything from fast flowering strains to unique hybrids, all ready for growing in Minnesota. And guess what? Our listeners get an exclusive deal. Use the code NL10 for a 10% discount on your entire order. Don't miss out. Get the best seeds and start your grow strong with MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. Remember, NL10 for 10% off. That's MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. Grab your seeds today. Going back to like the 70s, pre-indoor hybridization in America, you still had people that were shipping Maui Wowie into Minnesota.
No doubt, right? I mean, even like people who don't smoke weed, Maui Wowie is like this recognizable strain that everybody knows about. So
Yeah.
super excited about it.
Cannabis history in Minnesota is one of my like nerdy points. I just find it so interesting. And there's a guide that was put together by the Minnesota Daily, so the student newspaper for the U of M, way back in the 70s, that looked at all the different pricing for like hashish and different types of weed. It had Mexican brick on there, it had Thai stick, and it had Maui Wowie as like one of those classics that people knew by name. And it's cool that that genetic lineage is something that we can bring forward to today, and doesn't just have to be an experience of the 1970s. It can be an experience of 2024, 2025 here in Minnesota.
Yeah, no doubt, right? And it's funny, like guys my age, you know, gray beard and older, like it's the number one thing people ask me for. It's amazing. Like still to this day, everybody's like, yeah, what do you know about like Maui Wowie? Can you get that? So it seemed like a no-brainer, like, oh, we got to get this one in.
I love that. So people probably know Maui Wowie as like a classic sativa strain. But what can people expect a little bit more on that flavor profile? Like people have probably heard of Maui Wowie before. You've heard that talked about as like, oh, this is such a great cultivar for if you're looking for like an uplifting daytime. But what can you get on that flavor side?
Sure. Yeah, the effects, I would say, like more high energy, and then the pineapple flavor is definitely like, you know, the number one kind of noticeable distinguishing quality about it.
I love that. Yeah, anything on that tropical fruit side of the entire end of the spectrum, I'm just such a fan of. And Maui Wowie is like the grandfather of that entire flavor profile. It has birthed so much cool stuff. So I'm excited to have Maui Wowie be sent to people all across Minnesota.
Yeah, so are we. Going to be done.
How would people go and get signed up to get those seeds?
Sure. MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com.
Awesome. Sweet. So that's MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. You can enter that in and have Maui Wowie seeds delivered right to your door.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you again for coming in today. We really appreciate it as always. And everyone out there, go get your seeds. It's time to grow. And we're back. We're sitting here today with Dave Woodbeck of Dope CFO. How's it going, Dave?
It's going great. Thanks for having me out here today. I was telling these gentlemen out here that this is actually some of my old stomping grounds right around
Oh,
here.
very cool. Right on this Payne area.
Yeah, I got my first suit from Donald's over here.
Okay. Yeah.
Played some football at Duluth and Case back here behind
You know, this is a
block.
cool neighborhood, and
Yeah.
You're not the first person to mention to me before, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I've been around here since before the seed and sesh was here.
We won't talk about the days at the pain reliever. That's a different. It's a different story.
I love that. Well, truly, thank you so much for driving down here and chatting with us a little
Thanks for
bit
having
more about the stuff that you do. But let's just first start with your background.
Yeah.
We like to ask people here when they come in, what was their introduction to cannabis, to the cannabis world?
Yeah.
Sort of take us through
Yeah.
what that was.
So I'm probably from the generation that still was quite a bit of a stigma around it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't something that I practiced, as a kid and adult. I actually don't practice it that much right now, even. So I grew up and a lot of people around me were using it, and it was no big deal. But it was kind of still done behind the curtain, right?
Because
Nobody
you
would
were
talk about
Minnesota
it.
born and raised, right?
Minnesota born and raised,
Okay.
yeah. So I grew up on the east side here, then out in the suburbs for high school. So, it was always just kind of one of those things that was, keep that behind the curtain. Really don't talk about it very much.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as one gets older, one's views can moderate a little bit and be a little bit more, accepting of things. And so, I soon, I realized fairly early in my adulthood that, hey, look, why are we throwing a police state at this, this smoking at the time? Obviously mostly smoking at that time, when it's really the same as alcohol, if not arguably better than alcohol in a lot of ways. And then, really the catalyst for me was my wife was diagnosed with MS. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, we really didn't know, because the stigma kind of carried for a while. We didn't really know what to do, and the pain is pretty significant. The sleep is hard to get after. And so finally, and this is only in the last 10 years, she was willing to start to take and try to experiment with various forms of THC. And, she's found a regimen that works, pretty good for her. So, all of that kind of led me to be, kind of a regular part of the culture.
Totally. Yeah, that seeing the medical impact that this plant or the derivatives can have on people can really be life-changing.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And so now, because I get to meet a lot of people doing this job, I'm starting to get, piles of Sauve or
Yeah,
oils.
absolutely.
Somebody just gave me a bath bomb the other day. So yeah, it's been really interesting.
That's really cool. So you mentioned having a couple interactions with cannabis. Are there any that sort of stand out to you as you were growing up? Is there uniquely stick out?
Yeah, most people probably do. Most certainly. So I was in college, and I had mentioned to you already that, I hadn't really used, and it is kind of not for me quite. It's just not something I do a lot.
For sure.
But in college, I didn't know much about it, and so, in fact, I won't even know what to call it here. But they put together a joint in a toilet paper roll.
Oh yeah. So like the sploof. So you're blowing through it
No, you're sucking in.
through a toilet paper roll.
So they dug a little hole in it. They put some tin foil in there, poked some holes in the tin foil.
Oh, that's like an old school steamroller. I totally know what you're talking about. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
So it was that. And at the time, I was in athletics, so I was in really good shape. And I took a puff on this thing, and I could hold it. I held it for probably 90 seconds.
Okay, gotcha, for sure.
And nobody told me that I shouldn't do that, or I don't know that it really matters, but I did. And it's one of those things, and marijuana too is one of those things that creeps up on you. So I did one. I'm like, I'm fine. I did another one. I'm fine. I started walking around. 5 minutes later, I was just like, pow.
Oh yeah.
So I was on a couch kind of like this. It was a couch though. And I pretty soon I'm just, and I was a fairly, straight kid. So my friends just thought that was hilarious.
I love that. Yeah, I've seen handmade pipes like that before. Not had the opportunity to hit one, but we'll try it on a future episode for sure.
Yeah, it was fun.
So take us through a little bit. So Minnesota born and raised. What was your introduction to like accounting? Was that sort of your goal when you were looking at graduating high school of I hope to be in the accounting world?
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah.
That's cool. No, I totally dig that.
Yeah. For some reason, I stumbled across it. I took an accounting class in high school, and I just was really good at it. It just came really easy to me. So I could get my work done in my class, and I could actually just take a little nap in class. And
okay, I love that.
My classmates would get a little frustrated with me because I could get, I got good grades in it and so forth. But so I knew from the beginning that I wanted to be an accountant. So I did go and study that in college. I came out and I did what a lot of us who had accounting degrees at that point in time, we all looked for jobs in public accounting. Mm-hmm. And so I had a job with Ernst & Young, which at the time was a Big Six, and now it's called EY. It's part of the Big Four. So I did that, and then I did take a little bit of a detour. I didn't take a detour quite yet. Then I did go work for Target stores in their finance department, and I actually got to see, so when you're in public accounting, you see audits and tax and things of that nature, and then when you're working for in accounting in a company, you see kind of a different side of it. And so I got to see all of the accounting functions, the general ledger functions. You get to see, what it's like to create the different reports and the P&Ls, and then really,
yeah, for sure.
Really where it starts to have value is when you start to do various forms of analysis. So at Target, I was there for about 4 or 5 years. I got to see all of that. And then ultimately, I left that world, but stayed a little bit of adjacent to it. I went into the technology world, and I worked for Oracle at the time, and they were just launching their financial application. So I got to spend a lot of time applying the knowledge of finance through technology, which was super fun, by the way.
Yeah, well, and actually, so this is sort of where like the nerdy part of my brain is really enjoying this. So essentially, you're taking the application of what you were doing for years, trying to help people of organizing the back end of their businesses, and then also the tax front end auditing side of stuff, and then coming and working for a technology company to develop the tools to make that very job easier for people to do.
Easier, more efficient. Imagine this is pre-2000, and now we're in this age of artificial intelligence where the things we were introducing there, now the AI can do, lickety split. But at the time, we didn't have all of those things. So yeah, the efficiency and just the ability to get deeper insights out of their data, that was a really good, and it was transparently, it was a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun. And not that the accounting world wasn't fun, but it had its reputation for being a little bit more locked down. Yeah. Although the E&Y Christmas party was a blowout.
Well, and that's such a cool part of the country to be in, or it's such a cool job to be working on. It's such a unique time where you're watching this industry go from, obviously the 90s weren't when people were like in their garages, but that dot-com bubble explosion of the early 2000s turned technology from something that like people saw as a day-to-day function into this massive industry.
Exactly.
Or do you see any parallels between that and the cannabis world of today, or sort of what lessons do you think you take away from being in this upstart industry that now you're helping people the very same?
Well, one of the things I learned in the technology business, and then you can apply it to a lot of other trends or functions, it's called the hype cycle. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this.
Oh, for sure.
You've heard of the hype cycle.
I love a good Beanie Baby, Yeah. So, but talk us through a little bit about it.
Yeah. So there's that, and then the business world, it's a curve. So it has a slope of It's called the slope of enlightenment. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, but it's harsh and painful for the people that go through it. So you have a slope of enlightenment, then you have the trough of disillusionment, and then you have a slight uptick to the plateau of productivity.
Okay.
Right. So, and I think when you see that, when marijuana releases itself state by state by state, you see that exact thing, right? And so folks like Michigan right now are in, they're deep in the trough of disillusionment.
For sure.
It will shake out and they'll reach a level of productivity. And I think that's one thing that when I'm talking to folks here from Minnesota, I actually just had a nice meeting with a gentleman earlier this week who recognized that when they're building their financial plans, that they're recognizing it's not going to be, gangbusters all the time. You might be gangbusters the first 12 months, but you have to be prepared for price compression.
Oh, yeah.
Even the cost of supplies going up. You just have to be prepared for all those things. And so that the hype cycle is a really good way to talk to people about that.
I think that's such an important lesson, especially because, like you said, those first couple of months of an industry turning on, you have people buying $400 ounces and they're excited about it.
Right.
A year later, they would laugh at the idea of walking out of a store for that. And
Right.
how do you as a business prepare for, I'm not changing a ton of what I'm doing internally,
Right.
but the consumers are really shifting in that approach.
Yeah.
Not like trying to ask you to solve all the problems, but what can businesses do as they're looking forward to the inevitability of that drop to sort of be planning for it?
Well, I think they do. That's exactly what you have to plan for it.
Okay, totally.
Right. And part of that is just literally doing the work to put the scenario out there and say, what will I do should that happen? Right. And play out various scenarios. Sometimes when you just role play that out and game it out, you have a better reaction for when it actually happens. And it's not like people don't expect it to come, but they don't always talk about it. Right. They don't always put it on paper. They don't always model it out in their financial statements and say, here's what could happen. And then what do I do about it as it comes? Right. And it takes a lot of discipline to do that.
Yeah, I've seen a fair number of financial projections of people saying, oh, we're going to grow year after year. So, like, yeah, the price is going to drop, but it's fine.
Right.
And I think people ignoring the fact of sure, you might be having more sales, but if that value per sale continues to creep down as more and more stores open around you,
Right.
you gotta be ready.
Got to be ready.
So we skipped ahead to cannabis. I want to go back a little bit. You were working in the tech world for Oracle.
Yeah.
When did you transition into working in cannabis?
So actually just recently.
Okay, for sure.
So as I went through the tech world, and you had brought something up, which is a good segue, right? There was a .com bust.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through that.
Okay.
And I started my first business like a lot of people do out of necessity. Right? The nice way to put it is RIFT.
Okay, for sure.
Reduction in force.
Yeah, downside. Yeah. Yeah.
Some people would say fired.
Mm-hmm.
But I got RIFT in
Promoted to customer, I think is the term I've heard. But yeah.
in 2000, 2001. And so I had a passion for starting a business at that point in time. And what I had this finance background, but I actually built a marketing company.
Okay.
I had a passion for the way that people think about buying. I had a passion for the way to present that to people. And so we built a digital marketing company over the course of, the next 15 or 20 years. And any small business, you play multiple roles. And so I clearly played, a CEO role, and I played a CFO role, amongst others. But ultimately, towards the end, I was primarily playing the CEO and the CFO role. And that we were able to exit that successfully in 2021.
Okay. Very cool.
And I'll just give you this little snippet too, and maybe we'll pick it up on a thread later if it seems interesting. But that's the other thing that businesses don't always pay enough attention to is, what is your exit plan? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And the exit plan has a couple of important things to it. Whether you exit or not, the fact that you're saying there's a point in time in the future where I want to have a certain value equation, right? Whether that is really selling it, or you might want to have a lifestyle business. Nobody has a lifestyle business if their business is running. Can I swear in this pocket?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, please.
If it's running shitty.
Yeah.
That is not a lifestyle that anybody wants. So whether you want a lifestyle business, which I think a lot of people in cannabis might envision that it becomes, or if you want to have a business that you can actually exit and get paid well for it, having a plan to do that really, really matters. And again, it's like a mental model that sets you on your path.
Yeah. I think that's a really prudent conversation for people to be thinking about, especially today as you're starting up your business. Because sort of like you mentioned, growing a business that's looking to be acquired versus growing a business that you hope to run for the next 30, 40 years, that's different. You do those two things slightly differently.
Yep.
And of course, you want the best business possible, all of that. But yeah, you're setting something up for someone else to run versus this is my ship.
Right. And although the mentality of those two things might be different, the outcome is the same.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting a level of freedom that you might not otherwise have had, right? Whether you exit out or whether you are able to convert into a lifestyle business where really somebody else is probably running more of the operation than you are at that point in time.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyways, a little bit of a sidetrack, but that's what I thought the exit planning was important. So we exited out of that in 21, stayed on for several years to help transition out, and then it was time for me to move on. And so that was October of 2023, and it was great. Like I for the first time in my life had an abundance of time, wasn't in a hurry, and I was really enjoying it. But then what came into my vision was I was paying a little bit of attention to Minnesota's rollout and so forth. And while I'm paying attention to that, I see this Dope CFO philosophy in this company. And I was kind of interested, so I dug in a little bit, and pretty soon I'm thinking, wow, this is really quite interesting. Here you've got a really niche industry. It requires a really niche skill set in the accounting function, and even beyond that, because very few industries are subject to 280E. So a niche industry, a niche skill set, and then deeper skills within the skill set. I thought this is really intriguing, and so I rallied with my colleague Justin Woodbeck, and we got this started last April.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So it's sort of the coming together of helping people with the analytical side of things, of exploring like how do you market yourself, how do you get that message out to people, how do you run the back end of your business, how do you prepare yourself for auditing, sort of all coming together.
Yeah.
But then available for people that are starting up cannabis businesses.
Yeah, I'd like to say, every business, especially if you're a service business, you have some foundational things that are true, but then you're still, a lot of it is run by people. It's not run by machines per se, it's run by people.
Yeah.
And so I do think we've got an interesting combination of skill sets between, technology, marketing, finance, that, can be really helpful for guidance for cannabis businesses, right? I'm not going to go into a cannabis business anymore and do their marketing. That's not my role.
For sure.
But I have an opinion on it, and I know what to do, and certainly I know a lot of things that are good, and I know a lot of things that are bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're not coming into businesses and saying, hey, I'm going to teach you how to grow better plants.
No.
But what are some of the things that you do for businesses, both as they're starting up, and then businesses that once they're operating, they're making sales? What kind of services do you provide for those?
So to start off with, being really simple, we provide the full stack of accounting services.
Okay.
So this is bookkeeping, this is accounting, it's the CFO work and things of that nature. But I think we have an approach that's unique, and I think people can, if I can describe it properly, will appreciate it, right? So we really build our business on what we call the value pyramid. And at the base of any pyramid, you have a foundation. Mm-hmm. So most cannabis businesses understand that they need bookkeeping, right?
For sure.
And they understand that they need tax preparation. That's just
or at
inherent.
least they should. Let's clarify that they should need that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're filling out your application, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Right? So that's part of being at the base foundation. Mm-hmm. But when you go to the second level of that pyramid, it's what we call operational excellence. Mm-hmm. This is where you get into more sophisticated things. It could be 280E. There's a thing in this in these functions called cost accounting, which is an important element of getting 280E right and filing your financials properly. It doesn't always tie directly to tax, but it has a connection to it, of course. But this is where you get really excellent at operating the accounting function, right? It's more than the journal entries. So that's level 2, operational excellence. Then level 3, you move into world-class finance. Now, to me, this is where the big value adds start to come in. And this is where you're starting to look forward in your business, not just backwards, right? When you look at a report, you're looking in the rearview mirror.
For sure.
It already happened. And so you have to look forward in order to be more effective. So when we talk about things like planning, then it comes out as actual forecasting, right?
Yeah.
It's creating budgets. So, here's another thing. When people are spending money, they often have a really good intuition of how they're doing, but they don't have any specificity, right? So oftentimes they're looking at their cash account, and that's kind of the way they're managing their business. And I'm not suggesting that's a bad thing, but you can add a certain element of, again, forward-looking and specificity to it, so you start to know where do I have a problem here, and where can I start to fix it. And there's a lot of leadership that starts to develop in the operational section, and then in the financial excellence section. And then the fourth layer really results in it's strategy, it's your tax strategy, it's your exit plan strategy. It could be your your capital acquisition, your capital funding. It could be future mergers and acquisitions, right? It's bigger finance topics. But what all those things really accomplish for a business is confidence or peace of mind. And I will tell you, as a business owner who ran a business, and this is not everybody has the same mental makeup, but confidence was elusive.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
sure.
But I will tell you, man, there is nothing that drives more confidence than a great pipeline, great cash flow, and some semblance of knowing that you're going down the right path.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I think that plan that's so spot on, that having the plan on what I hope to do changes your business from being reactive to proactive.
Right.
You no longer have to say like, oh shoot, now I'm getting audited, I better prepare all this stuff. Oh,
Exactly.
now I have this problem that I need to go and solve.
Yeah.
But it's these are the things I'm doing today so that I am successful tomorrow.
And that, I'm just going to touch on one thing to
Yep,
kind of
yeah.
bring it down to something that's it's tactical, but it matters. So one of the things one should do to be sure that you're audit ready at all times is it's what's called a data room. I don't know if you've heard that term before. It's fundamentally where you just keep all your core files, and it's a pain in the ass. I don't know how many times you've worked with like computer systems and file folders and all that stuff, and your stuff ends up in 1,000 different places, and thank God you can search for it because you can ultimately find it. But a PDR, is a perpetual data room, is simply a well-structured set of folders where you put your stuff. So when you get audited and the auditor says, yeah, I need to see the contracts from the 5 vendors that, from 5 of the 25 vendors that you just spent money with, you're like, no problem, here they are, right? Versus running around with your head cut off when you're already too damn busy.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're trying to deal with an auditor, and that's just no fun, right? So it's not sexy, it's not cool, but it's one of those foundational things that if you do it right, you're getting yourself down the right path.
Yeah, well, and I think especially in the cannabis industry where we have like this stark need for OCM is going to be coming. They're going to be looking at your facility. You got to have those financial records, and you can only do that by preparing them ahead of time.
Exactly.
What are some of the other things that are sort of more of those lower level fruit, if you will, that business owners, if they're looking at setting up or operating, really should be doing to try to catch some of those things that could go wrong?
So here's another non-sexy but important thing, and it's simply reconciliations.
Okay.
So most people are familiar with a bank reconciliation, or you balance your bank account. No, I don't think anybody does that anymore on their personal level.
Not anymore sitting down with a checkbook, but yeah, totally. I get what you mean.
But you used to do that. But in a business, of course, it's much more important. So, cash is just one example of a reconciliation. If you're selling stuff, you're going to have accounts receivable. Reconciling your accounts receivable, or what's called a roll forward, becomes a really important function to make sure that you've done it right. And then, a form of a reconciliation, I'll again, this is debatable, but looking at the aging of your receivables, which is simply saying, how long has it been since you paid me?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And then just having discipline around these, I would put these right between the foundation and the operation, but you just got to be really disciplined about them. They're not always fun to do. They're boring for months on end. Nothing will change. But all of a sudden, boom, you find something.
Yeah.
So in my marketing business, this is what I'm about to explain as a control procedure, right? And so these control procedures are often talked about in the accounting world. I'm going to give you one outside of the accounting world because they exist everywhere. But it had a real impact. So long story short is we were working for a company that sold baby formula. And in the mail, they would deliver to you a booklet. And in that booklet were checks. They're not coupons. They were literally checks that were run through the banking system.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So on a check is a routing number. Again, that routing number makes sure that if I'm a retailer, I put that check in the bank, it gets to the bank that owes me the money.
Yeah.
So we had a control procedure. And the control procedure was because we had to change the routing number every month for a variety of reasons. But the person would look up on their schedule, they put that routing number into the print graphic so the printer could print it. And that was our control procedure. So we were missing a very important thing in that control procedure. Third-party validation.
Okay. Yeah, totally.
Right? So we sent out the wrong damn routing number. And that's the kind of thing. I mean, we're talking hundreds of $1,000s worth of checks out in the
Something that
marketplace.
just can't be cashed because that routing number is going to nowhere.
And-
yeah. Okay.
And this baby formula company is working with big retailers like Target. Well, I mean, they're not, right? This is really bad. It worked out for us, right? It wasn't as bad as it ended up. But think how simple that third-party validation would have been. Check. And you're done.
Totally. Well, and I think those things, like that's such a great example because it's those things that I think are going to get missed by a lot of cannabis business owners as they transition, and this isn't meant negatively, but transition from the legacy market to the legal market.
Right.
Is, back in the day, a handshake agreement.
Yeah.
That was cool, and that was sort of it, and you knew you got paid because you got the cash before you left, and that was it.
Right.
But I agree with you. The accounts receivable, looking at how many days things are past due or that things were actually shipped and making sure that your business is running how it should is something that people forget as they scale up, I think, especially in cannabis.
Yeah. And then, as you move up call it the value pyramid, the other big thing that you can do to put controls on your business is not just looking at a financial report. You look at a trend. And the trend will often tell you, and it's not just an analytic function. In this case, I'm talking about it in a control function. It'll tell you when something's not, has gone different, right? Or it's different than when it's been in the past. And a lot of people don't use that as a control feature. They only look at a report. They might look at trends from a revenue standpoint because everybody wants to look at that. But there's other ways to use your reporting to make that happen. And in today's technology world with AI and so forth, it's much better at alerting you. And in fact, a lot of personal finance programs now. I can't remember, is it Rocket, somebody or another who can flag that you've been on a subscription for so long. And
I've been getting ads for that on podcasts for sure. Yeah.
So we can apply that at the company level now too.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's so cool seeing the conglomeration of technology, accounting, and cannabis coming together to do things that I think people 10 years ago who were selling in the legacy market never would have even thought of. I remember being in high school. College, because I was an adult, and proposing to my buddy of mine, hey, we seem to be helping to connect a lot of people with cannabis, not selling, of course, just connecting. We should probably use QuickBooks to keep track of that. And him looking at me and being like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, no, we're not going to track that in QuickBooks. And now today, you can actually use a lot of the powerful analytical tools that apply to every other business, but for cannabis.
That's funny. That's a funny story.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I'm curious to hear a little bit more about some of that day-to-day and what kind of stuff people should be looking forward to in the future.
Great.
So I'm curious to hear a little bit more about what the day-to-day operations of working for Dope CFO looks like.
Yeah.
I think people can picture like a cultivator. You're spending a lot of your days dealing with plants. The gummy production side, you're spending your day doing that. Yep. What does that look like?
Well, and it kind of follows the value pyramid that we just spoke about, right? And so there's a set of functional, technical, and strategic things we need to bring to the table on a regular basis. And accounting is very cycle oriented. So, you close your books at the end of the month and then you provide a financial report and hopefully you're comparing that to a budget or some kind of benchmark. And then maybe days 10 through 20, you're working on the next budget out or the next forecast out or some analytic or strategic exercise. So, you gotta be really sharp, and there's a lot of moving parts in there, and there's no small amount of taking care for this foundational stuff that we talked about, right? Some of the things I just described, they take some energy and some effort, and staying on top of your books on a regular basis is important. So those things happen on a weekly basis, keeping your books up to date and doing some of the things that I talked about, reconciliations and so forth. Get into a monthly cycle where you're going to report out, and then move up the ladder to more strategic things. Ultimately you want to get to more of the strategic things and less of the tactical things.
For sure.
And get people asking questions and being curious about how their business is running, right? And so the other thing that becomes really critical and important is, I think every department leader would say that they kind of sit at the middle of all things going on around them. But I will claim that quote unquote CFO role or controller role has a lot of that, because all the numbers ultimately end up in the financial statements as a function of being the scorecard of the business, right? Tells you how the business is running. So when you get some of these foundational things done and they're locked in and they're rolling well, then the CFO or the controller has an opportunity to partner with other departments and get really good at how they're feeding information to the finance team, how the finance team can feed information back to them. And that's when, if you get that cycle rolling, then you really start to have a strong team that is, on top of their business, on top of their numbers, able to look forward, not just backward, and really run at a high level.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's going to be such a powerful tool, especially as people are like, yes, hemp is always an evolving world, but as people are moving into adult use and having to ask themselves, you know, should I make various choices? Should I work with this distributor? Should I work with those questions are really going to be impacting, like you said, the bottom line of how much money your company is making and whether you're able to keep operating. And you gotta plan for that and not just, you know, sort of willy-nilly.
And I just want to make one comment about, I don't know if you can make one comment about 280E, but in the end, there's a ton of judgment inside of 280E. And I think there's ways to be, I'm going to say aggressive, but don't be egregious.
Okay, surely, yeah.
Because there's lots of ways to judge something. And I think in the end, you can be aggressive as long as you're willing to, number one, defend it. And number two, be willing to live with some level of risk that, you know, you're going to get dinged. But, you know, in the end, the auditors that come audit you, they're also humans. And if they see that you've got good defense and that you've made a good effort to track the way that you're doing things, then I think, you know, you're going to be in a decent spot.
Yeah, and you're talking about so people are able to like put the dollars and cents to it, like making a different amount of payment on your taxes and potentially being able to push that payment lower by being strategic about how you categorize things, strategic about how you run your business, where it's not just like, I have a better filing, but it's you are actually saving your company money as you operate.
Yeah, you know, again, by being smart and documenting and being able to defend is the biggest thing, right? Yeah. So it's not, you can't beat 280E. You have to manage it. Yeah. And, you know, that's just it. And anything else is speculation. And I'm okay with speculation. I'm okay with risk. As long as you know what you're risking and you have the risk tolerance to do it, okay. You know, a lot of the folks are holding back their payments and taxes, and they're holding it under, you know, various ways that they're interpreting what's going to happen. Okay. Yeah. But you better be able to defend it and know that you're speculating a little bit on an uncertainty, as we're just seeing here in the first quarter now, right in the first month.
Yeah.
Right, where the appointment to DEA is, you know, has some unfriendliness towards cannabis, and who knows how long it's going to take.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, that's been an interesting one to watch. We touch on like the cannabis stock world every so often here. And it has been interesting watching these multi-state operators sort of take that gamble of, we're hoping there's going to be some sort of legal change that makes it so that this money that you say we owe now, we don't owe later. And I think a lot of people are banking on hopefully that works. And
I mean, I think, you know, if the big guys can knock down the walls for the little guys, you know, so it might be the only nice thing they do for the little guys. So.
Oh, that is for real. Awesome. Well, it was really great chatting with you a little bit today about Dope CFO, about some of the services that you guys provide here in Minnesota. For people that are looking to connect with you a little bit more, where would you recommend that they reach out?
Well, can I give my email address? And
absolutely, yeah. However people can get in touch.
Yeah. Right now, the easiest way is email. I'll give you our website as well. But so it's dave.woodbeck at dopecfo.us.
Perfect. We'll put that in the show notes so people can click right on that.
The .us. A lot of people do the .com and then we never see it. I'm just going to give my phone number too, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll put them both.
You can text or call me at this, and I hope that this doesn't increase my spam. But 651-592-3461.
Awesome. Well, if you're considering starting up a cannabis business, if you're currently starting up a cannabis business, or if you've been operating a hemp business in Minnesota, reach out, because I think not many people think of the financial services until suddenly they need to.
Yeah.
And like you've been talking about, being that proactive planning of it is how you ensure that this is successful for you and not a headache.
Do you mind if I just add one last thing?
Please, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, one of the things we dialogued about is, you know, what should cannabis companies be thinking about? Here's the thing I mentioned at the beginning. They know they need a bookkeeper. They know they need a tax preparer. They often forget about this finance leadership function. And I'm telling you, somebody's doing that work or choosing not to do that work, right? So, you know, be smart about how you're choosing to do those types of things, because unless that is where you want to spend your time. So, for example, in my business, I decided that's a good spot for me to spend my time. I have that skill. I can be a CFO. I'm gonna focus there. And then I was able to either have partners or colleagues step into the roles that they were best at.
For sure.
But man, somebody's got to do that. And so every minute you're dealing with a payroll issue, or you're dealing with not understanding the reports that have been generated, or you're not understanding what your tax guy is saying back to you, that's all a waste of your energy, right? And so, will these things cost a little bit more than a bookkeeper? Yep, they're going to cost a little bit more. 70% of businesses fail by year 10.
Yeah.
That doesn't account for the uniqueness of cannabis. That's just the general market. Okay. You want to increase your probabilities? Well, you best get after understanding your cash, your finances, et cetera. Otherwise, you're just making it harder for yourself, and you're increasing your probabilities of failure.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think that actually brings it really full circle for the conversation that we had. Because we started by talking about businesses that are, looking to plan for that inevitable decrease in the market and that hype cycle.
Right.
Having that leadership in your finances and not just having it be sort of month by month figuring it out is going to make the difference between whether you survive that deflation or whether you don't.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you. Been
Yeah,
a real
absolutely.
pleasure
Yeah.
chatting with
No,
you.
thanks for adding that. Thanks for coming in. I definitely encourage people to reach out because the financial conversation around a business is one that you could have for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time.
Yeah.
And it's only going to make you a stronger business and more likely to succeed.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you
My
again. I
pleasure,
appreciate
Tanner.
it.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
We'll be right back. Ever felt like running a cannabis business means running in circles just to get basic banking? Union Bank and Trust gets it. They've been helping cannabis businesses for over 10 years, solving problems like securing accounts, managing cash flow, and navigating regulations. No more jumping through hoops, no more runarounds. Just straightforward banking solutions built on trust, integrity, and performance. That's unionbankandtrust.com. All right, and we're back for one of my favorite segments of the show, the sampling part.
Yes.
We get to try a new gummy. Steve, you brought in some gummies today, and I have never seen these before. So tell me a little bit about these, but I definitely know our friends, Unwind.
Unwind, yeah. So Unwind, friend of the Minnesota Cannabis College, big fan of Canna Connect.
Shout out to Moorhead.
Yeah, Therese Sorensen up there, retired financial professional, getting into the low dose and the alcohol market. So Unwind, they distribute these gummies across the state. This is a 4-to-1 ratio, 20 milligrams CBG, 5 milligrams THC. Let's give it a try.
Sweet. And then I have their Pina Colada Vibrant one here. That's just the THC. We'll have to maybe try that one on a different show.
Maybe when it's warmer out.
There we go. We'll put that in the summer calendar.
All right, so I've got a square gummy here.
All right. Yeah, you said orange cream, and I'm excited about that. That sounds like a good flavor.
A little bit more on the crispy side.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Jordan, you want to give one a try? We'll pass the bag back there.
Yes, please.
Flavor's okay. I'm here for the CBG.
Yeah, you can definitely, some edibles I think have no hint of cannabis in it. This is not one of those. They have a little hint of cannabis in that aftertaste. But
Yeah.
that's good.
Oh, you're tasting the cannabis.
Yeah, I think it's like that slightly little bit of bitter at the end of it. But I love the orange. I love that cream that comes together.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Good gummy. You can find it at Hazy Bear up in Outing, Minnesota. Big fan of the show.
Right next to Inning.
Right next to Emily.
There we go. She's pretty
joke-
cool too.
That joke doesn't make sense, Steve.
No, she's in Paris.
Oh, we're like 6 levels deep at this point, and I think it's pronounced Emily in Paris. But at this point, so the Energized gummies. So
Yeah, I'm excited to see how these feel.
yeah, I always am interested by ones that push CBG on the front end of it's not just its THC, CBD, CBG, other cannabinoids blended together, which is cool, and I love seeing the different blends. But when these people come out and say, "This is a CBG gummy that has THC in it,"
A CBG
I
forward.
think it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you get further into a product like that, you could add electrolytes, you could add other things that complement the energy function
Yeah.
but also here you're going to get anti-inflammation, you're going to get a natural well-being. Maybe it'll take away your stomach ache. There's some good benefits to body feeling without getting the head high or the body high. So this one, I hope it does what it says, and that's Energized. They came highly recommended from Luke McCapes.
Sweet. Well, and I got to say, I really love the art style on this. It's a little bit more cartoony. It's a little bit more playful. But I think that's so nice of a change from the sterile cannabis products. And I'm not pointing back there because those are actually really beautiful.
Those are good gummies.
But just like the sometimes the standard logo cannabinoid, that's it. This is a art all around. You see the little bit of orange cream on the back of this one. You got the pina colada on the back of there.
Yeah, and these are professionally made. They're made in Oregon, Minnesota. They're shipped in. You can read that on the back. But the fact that it comes from a small town in Minnesota impacts the brand and the color, the creative that they came up with. So they're less bound to the Twin Cities scene where there's just probably trends happening. These guys are a little bit oddball.
Yeah. And they don't talk about it on the front, but they say in the ingredients that they do have terpenes in them as well. So always cool to see that as an introduction to these gummies.
That will help unlock feelings in your body that you'll enjoy.
Cool. So I recommend people give these a try. I think they are more of the the chewy type gummy that you might get. But I like it. I like the flavor.
I do too. It's a good candy. I would take that to a movie. Or, that type of gummy. I like the chewiness of it.
What if you were really stoned at home and you had the munchies, but the only thing you had was a bunch of Energized? No.
So 200 milligrams in a pack. Tanner, you'd probably be okay on the THC side, but on the CBG side, I'd be curious to know what 200 milligrams did for you.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever consumed more than 50 milligrams CBG in one sitting.
Right. And luckily you don't have to because we have choice here in Minnesota.
But I might choose to later. All right, well, that's a good one. Yeah. Recommend people check it out and swing by their shop in Moorhead. It's cool to see a cannabis community coming together in places where you might not expect it. And right along the border with North Dakota, that is going to be the place where people are coming for their weed across the state of North Dakota. So It's going to be a cool place to be hanging out.
Yeah. Come see Unwind in Brainerd on March 8th. They'll be a part of a Canna Connect event.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Where the hemp is Brainerd? No, just kidding. We know where Brainerd is.
Damn it, Baxter.
That's by Emily? No. All right, you guys. So good gummies. Check those out. Should we do the high note?
I think it's time for a high note.
All right. You got me.
Now is where we put that really long pause in as Tanner thinks of a high note. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, the Marcus smell. That's a good one.
Have you noticed that I've started just putting in just light music anytime Marcus is sniffing things? Because it's 25 seconds of just
smelling.
I can't even take a fraction of the size of the breath that he takes. It's incredible. But
was he on for the first game of the year?
I believe so. That was the Who's in Your Circle?
Yep, Who's in Your Circle.
Yeah, when you said you would prefer to have Martha Stewart in your circle instead of Snoop Dogg, and he went, "What are you talking about?" And look who's smiling now. So,
can we say Jordan
I know
has some intuition here?
I know what you're talking about.
Just in general, hey, Jordan's not always wrong. Not always.
No, we love you, Jordan. We appreciate everything you do.
Me.
Friday nights
at
the Dabbler Depot.
At the Seed and Sesh, we're hanging out.
Yeah, thanks to the studio audience checking us out.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, you. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there they are. They've actually been well behaved this episode.
They have been. They've been pretty quiet, which is we appreciate. All right, no. But let's do the high note.
Mine's kind of gross.
All right, do you want to go first, then?
All right. Are you ready?
You tell me.
I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready.
Are you?
I haven't been eating super healthy this month. I've been eating a lot of carbs.
Okay.
And I'm a little bit off my routine. So I'm starting my day with a lot of black coffee.
Okay.
I see where this is going.
I'm also...
We're going to hold up the chart. Is it a 1 through 6?
Do we have a cobblestone look versus the smooth?
Sorry, keep going.
No, it'll come around.
That's what the coffee helps with.
And I'm not exclusively drinking black coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll use some Doc Dabs maple syrup, and I'll use some Laird Hamilton creamer. I'll blend it. Sometimes I have some good coffee, but my mornings I start just black.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wearing my hemp hoodie. I'm not brushed. I'm not bathed. I'm feeling everything that my body is excreting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm smelling a little bit of an odor in the mornings just off the coffee through the armpits.
Okay.
And I think about you guys a lot, right? And so I'm like,
Wait, so when you smell stinkiness, you think of us?
well, when I get high, I think about you guys. So like occasionally I get high. And
Unctuous.
that
Oily,
oily,
slippery
buttery feeling of. And so my main drug has been coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I know what your main drug is. It's dabs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
so-
espresso.
And espresso.
But mostly dabs. Yeah,
But
yeah.
mostly dabs. And so I likewise I on the espresso. And so the concern is coffee makes me smell.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is, do dabs make you smell?
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding properly. Are you talking about like the I've done my dab and now I smell like dab, like coffee breath equivalent? Or like the you drink coffee and like your sweat just then like smells like coffee? Do you like sweat out THC if you're a dabber? Such a great question.
That's the latter. Yeah, that's the question.
Like there is a difference between like normal pee smell and coffee pee smell. Like
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mhm.
it-
excretion.
it
yeah.
is something else.
Do you think there's a difference between stoned pee smell and
Caffeinated.
only depending to the drug test strips.
Depends on how
Not
many
to-
munchies.
not to my
Depends
not to
on
my
the
schnoz.
munchies after the consumption.
Wow, my pee smells like Cheetos.
Yeah, it's crazy. Smoke going into dabs, people are like, "You smell like McDonald's French fries."
Correct.
And so I guess it's different, right? Because coffee, you're drinking it. Dabs, you're vaporizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a one-to-one. I vaporize my flower through, the Storz and Bickel devices that we have. But I was wondering the other day as I was thinking, like trying to prepare a high note, trying to come prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, coffee is a drug that I use. It kind of makes my body smell at times. Does cannabis? And I don't think it does.
Mm.
But I wanted to kind of joke, do dabs make you smell?
If they did, Tanner would smell like an orange.
That'd be so cool. Actually, but taking it one step further, because I think probably on a very minimal level, yes. And could someone subconsciously detect that? And just like you walk up to someone and you're like, I know you're cool.
Ding.
I don't know why, but my brain is telling me you just sort of give off a cool vibe.
Yeah.
And it's not the Ray-Bans.
It's not the Ray-Bans.
No, it's the gummies.
It's not the wolf t-shirts. It's the gummies.
the wolf t-shirt from yes, I know.
We're going to make one of those, which is the three of us howling. It's going to be an exclusive to Patreon.
It's Homeward Bound, but it's us three.
And the thing is it's not going to be a photo shoot. I'm going to go and find still frames from each of us throwing our head back in some sort of
Ooh.
expression.
Action shots.
Yeah.
That's why you friended us on Facebook. That makes
Yes.
sense.
Finally. Yeah.
going through the stories.
Yep.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, Steve, Tanner thinks maybe.
I think
Nah.
all right.
Me too.
Yeah. Tanner, what do you got?
I just got to do more dabs then. That's the contest.
Right.
You're not doing enough.
Yeah. If you can't smell me, it means I'm not dabbing enough.
We should just
Put that on a shirt.
get you hooked up to an oxygen mask, but it's actually just a Puffco
Mm-hmm.
device that just is always slow burning stuff for you, and you can just
Oh, that'd be really good.
it's like an IV drip of
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
OG lemur breath.
OG lemur breath. Well, here is my high note. And my high note is sort of more of a call to action that will actually make an appearance in a future episode. Now, if people go to the show notes right now, you'll see that there's a link called submit your hot take here. And the reason is Jordan knows about this. Steve does not yet. We've been playing games on this podcast, and we've got a game in the future that we're going to be playing called Hot Takes and Hot Dabs. We're not going to explain any more about it, but what I need people to do is to submit hot takes that you have about the cannabis world. What's
Anything.
something that someone could say, and you'd be like, wow, that's a hot take. I have questions for you about that.
Hot take. The schmutz that you can scoop out of your bowl doesn't taste that bad. Defend it.
Yeah, that's hot take. Blue raspberry gummy is actually the best flavor of gummy out of all of them.
I love that fruit.
Shout
Yeah.
out to Freedom Soda.
Yeah. Hot take. Minor cannabinoids, modern day snake oil.
Don't work.
Don't work. They're nothing. What's a hot take that you have that you want us to maybe have to defend? We have a link in the show notes. It's a Google form. You can just type in a hot take. We were not going to be able to see them prior to us bringing them into the studio. We've got a system set up. So please submit your hot take, and it'll make an appearance on a future episode. So.
And honestly, like, just throw out whatever hot takes. I like.
Yeah. I would say it
if
doesn't
it-
have to be cannabis related. If it wants to just be Minnesota related, like
Yeah, Minnesota's good.
feel free to throw that out as well. We're a multi-dimensional podcast.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Leave Palestine out of it for now.
Yeah, and if you have if you had a hot take about French fries, you can put that in there as well.
I'll fight you.
And then goes defend it. Is McDonald's the best French fries?
Potatoes in Minnesota, yeah. It's a potato podcast.
It is a potato sports podcast. So my high note, my call to action, please go submit your hot take. We appreciate it.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
And it's the first time that we've previewed something on the show before we did it. So people have a little hint of a future game, and you can be part of that game. You can play as well. Submit your hot take.
If you don't submit your comments, we won't play your game.
We won't play your game. All right, Jordan, round us out. What's your high take to end out the week?
I am gonna. So my hot take, not a hot take. We're past the hot takes.
But I could hear a hot take too as well.
Spit it.
So my high note of this week is very exciting for people who are aware of the motorsport world.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to contextualize this, but the news.
You're talking about roller derby, right?
We're talking about roller derby.
All right,
Anything that rolls in an. Okay, no.
Yeah.
But
Apollo Anton Ono?
wow, that's a very specifically like 2008 Winter Olympics reference. Okay. So my high note this week is just my excitement as a motorsports fan. And I'll try to frame this in a way that the wider audience could understand and can appreciate. But so this week was the first day of work at Ferrari F1 for 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. So this is essentially
What?
so this driver.
Did you get a new job?
God, I wish. But no, this is like I don't know, Michael Jordan going and playing for the Lakers. It's
Yeah,
like-
because there's like a
it's-
few big groups. He was for Red Bull before?
So
Mercedes?
Lewis has been with Mercedes.
Okay, thank you.
for since his first year was 2014.
Okay.
But he was a part of their junior program like ever since the beginning. McLaren. Anyway,
Back when he was just like 12.
yeah, no, he
Kiwis.
he was actually having conversations at 12, 13 years old with these F1 bosses. So this guy is considered to be the Michael Jordan, the Tom Brady, the LeBron James, the
Steve Eigenman. Yeah.
the Steven Eigenman of the Formula One paddock, and now he is, after a long, successful, statistically greatest
Unmatched.
of all time career, he is now driving for Ferrari, which is statistically the greatest of all Formula One teams. So
He went and played for the Pistons.
he. Okay, now Steve, I think you're missing the metaphor here.
Bad boys. No, my dad's big into Ferrari. You're talking about Michael Schumacher. You're talking about some of the. I mean, Michael Schumacher was the GOAT.
Schumacher was the GOAT, and some people would argue he is still the GOAT because him and Lewis have the same number of world championships, but Lewis has pretty much got him
Better than
on-
Max Verstappen?
Verstappen.
There you go.
Yeah, so
Like an
no, yes,
Austrian
at this point, but that's because Max Verstappen is 14 years younger than Lewis Hamilton.
Oh.
Max, Okay, this is a Lewis high note, but we'll give Max his flowers. Max is an anomaly and a fucking just savant of a driver. He doesn't count. Like, he's the outlier of everything, statistically speaking, because he's a robot that, like, I don't know this for certain, but I believe his highest, like, actual formal education level is that of a 7th or 8th grade level, because he was just from 3-4 years old just put into go-karts and abused into being the robot
He'd kick
masterpiece
He'd
he is
kick my
today.
ass in
Yeah,
video
yeah,
games.
yeah. So my high note is, even though despite all of the nonsense bullshit going on in our country, it's still fucking cool to see somebody who's excellent do something and be excellent at it, i.e. Sir Lewis Hamilton.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
It's just it was a shining light in my week of otherwise just absolute bullshit and Nazis and fucking all the shit that we don't really want to talk about on this show.
Yeah, I would say follow us on Twitter, but not anymore. A question for you, or more of a statement for you, because he was talking about cars, and I have to tell you a very short story that's related.
Yeah.
When him and I were talking about hot takes and hot dabs prior to you getting here, I was like, oh, like, here's some ideas of a hot take. Like, I could say to you, NASCAR is better than F1. Defend that. And he looked at me, and he's like, I'm getting angry right now.
Yeah.
And so we need to come up with a really good Jordan hot take that is
something for my special interests.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I realized I was like the Arthur meme with the clenched fist when he was like talking about it. I was like,
we should rank the entries of the hot takes by temperature of the dab.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Different categories.
So like this one is an easy one. If you could, all right. Should we tell the rules of the game? So essentially, the rules of the game is you got to defend the take, and if you can't do it, then you got to do a hot dab.
450 degrees.
450 degrees, or maybe like a 670 degree. I don't know.
Right, depends
how hot the take is. Yeah. So give us your spiciest takes, and we'll heat them up.
Where can people send those again?
Yeah, the link in the show notes. We'll set up a Google form. You can go and get those submitted. Yeah, we want your hot takes. Hot takes and hot dabs.
Coming soon.
Can't wait.
Well, guys, another episode in the books. Before we go, should we give a shout out to Grove Bag again?
Yeah.
I just think this is so cool. Every time I look over at you, Steve, it sort of catches my eye a little bit.
What
it's like,
color is it?
It's like waving. It's our beautiful blue banner. We've
Wow.
got that dark blue, the light blue.
Two-tone.
Oh, yeah. It also looks good like that.
Whoa.
It's crazy. It's almost like the flag was made for that. And just cool being able to see that, which started out as just like a design on Canva. Evolve into a sticker, evolve into now a bag that I've got some pretty cool weed in here, just chilling.
Specifically for Minnesota weed.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
Yeah, Minnesota weed. So and remember, if you want to get one of these bags, you can check out that link in the show note. You can buy one, or if you want to get them into your store, you can buy a bunch. Get them out to the community. Rep that Minnesota pride.
What are we selling them for? $5?
$5.
$5 a bag.
Yeah. So help us with our fundraiser. Help keep us doing what we're doing, and get a cool bag in the process that keeps your weed fresh and repping the Minnesota brand.
Hey, good episode, man.
Yeah, thanks. That was a fun one. Thanks to all of our sponsors for helping to make it possible. Thanks to Dave for coming in. That was a good conversation. Fun terps, fun sampling.
Shout out to the Dabbler Depot.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, find us on socials. Find us on YouTube, where we're dropping videos every day, multiple times a day. Lots of videos, so check them out. They're pretty good.
Hell yeah.
I enjoy them. You guys will too. Share Northern Lights with a friend. Share it with your family. Share it with your aunt who maybe doesn't understand what CBC is yet, but she could soon. So send that to her. And then, of course, check out Tanner's Herb Tasting on Friday. We've got new videos every day of the week. Give them a view. All right, I think that's everything.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Sweet. Pew, pew, pew. We're done. All right, thank you all. Have a good week.
Peace.
Northern Lights is a Minnesota Cannabis College production. This episode was produced by me, Tanner Barris, and by Steve Eigenman and Jordan Witt. Production assistance from Marcus Harkis, Shayna Payton, and John Barty. Video and audio recording at the Dabbler Depot studio by Jordan Witt. The information provided in this podcast does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice, but is instead for general information purposes only. No listener should act solely on the basis of information provided without first seeking advice from their own legal counsel. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Minnesota Cannabis College. Please listen responsibly.